All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Show Choir Nation, the flagship podcast of the Homeroom Show Choir Network. I'm your host, William. I am alongside my co-host, Ethan. Ethan, how are you doing tonight?
Good. I'm doing real good. I am still exhausted from our Saturday stream, which was so much fun. If you have not seen it, go check out a few parts of it. Something we've never really done before, something I don't know that's ever been done before. Reaction show to live results as they come in. But like I put that caption on the memes post, I'm exhausted, and it is very much true. I am exhausted, and I didn't even leave the confines of my house. But I'm excited for the week to come. There's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely, and Ethan is talking about the teardown show that we did on Saturday night. For you Central Time folks, it was from roughly 9:15 to about 12:30 then on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And it was a lot. We actually wound up splitting it into two parts. So if you haven't yet, as soon as you're done watching this, go to Instagram, open up the teardown. They're in the Reels section of the Homeroom Show Choir Instagram page. So make sure to check that out. We got, I think, 13 of the 15 comp results in because Missouri is a black hole. So
where we knew partial results, it's so weird. Like we knew Webb City had 3 groups in it, and they got first, third, and 7th. And it was like, well, where's the rest of the results? We don't really know. But it was a great time, and I'd love to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to get rolling straight into the show content for the week. The first comp of the week that we're going to cover is the Millard West Music Lives. So this one, a very well-hyped matchup going into the weekend. The final results of this one, Omaha West Side ATSZ Vocals Band and Choreo. Brandon Brio, first runner-up. Omaha South, the Ambassadors, second runner-up. Millard North, Infinity, third runner-up. Brandon Bellas, fourth runner-up. Aberdeen Central, Eagle Express, fifth runner-up. Ethan, I think there's a certain term you like to use to describe West Side's season this year.
The last dance. It is the last dance. That's kind of what I was my senior year. I remember saying this is the last dance. Of course, that was the year after the Last Dance documentary came out. So definitely try to coin that phrase. Yes, this is the actual last dance of Doran Johnson, and so far they're 3 for 3. Actually incredible. The fact that they're coming away with really high quality wins. And I mean, I've heard a lot about their show. I can't wait to peek in and see their show. Sadly, I won't be seeing them in person this year. I won't be seeing them in person.
Oh man, you're not going to go to Wheaton?
Oh my goodness, I completely forgot they're going to Wheaton. If I'm at Wheaton, then that's going to be a heck of a time. It's so weird that we're in my head that like Wheaton is such a sleeper comp this year just because of how much is going on. Like it somehow falls to the back of my head, but I can't wait to see them. The storyline that kind of pops out to me, I know Brandon Brio coming up a little bit short, but you still got to be proud of their first time out coming into Nebraska and doing this. I'm kind of down in the treble division. I'm with the Brandon Bellas. That is a high quality win to start your season. Was simply irresistible from West Side. That was on a tear, making finals appearances. I didn't think Brandon was going to come in right away and steal that from them. Millard North, Illumination, another high quality program. Same with Lewis Central, Aberdeen Central, so on and so forth. That was a tough division in its own right. So I kind of wanted to throw Brandon Bellas some love there. And then Omaha South, I feel like they are the most this is the most quote unquote shocking result out of this competition. They were a group that was slept on by a lot. Like I think our whole panel of contributors didn't think Omaha South would get podium at all. I feel like they sat around the 5th and 6th mark. So to see them get best band, best opener, and best closer against Westside and Brandon, as well as Millard North, is truly special. Hopefully this is something to come for the future as well. I would love to see all the Omaha groups just continually to grow.
Absolutely. We do have our first comment into the show. I thought ATSC didn't get best band. Thought it was Omaha South. Could be wrong. I just did a spot check on this, and Omaha West Side got best ballad, which I think I put on the show sheet as best band. So yes, that is correct. I'll have to retract my previous statement. Omaha South, third place in a best band caption. I think they had a very good improvement from week to week. Last week, or I guess 10 days ago at this point in time, they lost to Millard North at Gretna. Now this week they beat Millard North as well. A similar thing happened to Aberdeen Central just to make finals. They wound up beating Lewis Central, and they lost to Lewis Central at Sioux Falls Jefferson on January 11th. And that was a big finals get for Aberdeen Central. Sioux Falls Roosevelt came down to Gretna last week and missed finals. Hadn't been a great year for South Dakota groups. I know Sioux Falls Washington kind of took it on the chin a little bit after, I think, being top 2 in prelims at Burke. But for Aberdeen Central to come in here and make finals, that then extends their final streak to 24. So definitely, and I believe they head back to South Dakota for most of their competition season remaining this year. Let me do a spot check on that real quick. Aberdeen Central, Sioux Falls, Washington, O'Gorman, and Sioux City East is going to be the rest of their competition schedule. So certainly a chance for Aberdeen Central to make finals the rest of the year this year as well. I would also have to agree with you that women's division was just kind of insane because I think, first of all, Bella's taking the win, but second of all, Bella's taking 5th overall in finals, I think shows that they certainly came to play. And I think that, if you're Brandon, I think you certainly can't be disappointed whether you're Brio or whether you're Bella's. I think that both of those are certainly performances to hang your hat high on. And, sometimes it's just not going to fall your way in terms of you can't control what the other people put on stage, right? And when you're competing with a show that's as vintage good as West Side is this year, I think that it's something that Brandon is I don't think it's a negative on Brandon's program. I think it's more just a positive on the West Side program as well. Lewis Central's streak of third place has come to an end. Their holiday-themed show missed finals, but they will be right back in action later this season, I believe. Let me do a spot check on when they will be back. They will be at Monona Grove in 3 weeks. So 4th competition of the year and still no Iowa comps for Lewis Central. So that's a bit of an interesting one. Ethan, we're going to go to the Pleasant Hill Battle of the Best results. This one, Neosho Corlear's best vocals and best band, Jenks Trojaneers. Best choreography, Carthage Soundwave. 3rd place, Platte County Sound Express. 4th place, Harrisonville Music Makers. 5th place, Oak Park Oak Street Singers. 6th place. And at this point in time, I would like to welcome to the show our guest for tonight, Wren Millick. Wren, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are doing great. We're right in the swing of things here. Ethan, Pleasant Hill is a comp that I think at conservative estimates ended at 12:30 on Sunday morning, perhaps a little bit closer towards that 1 o'clock mark. What is the first thing that comes to mind for you when you see this list of final results from Pleasant Hill?
Congratulations to everybody who stayed all the way through. Volunteers, hosts, performers. That is a very, very, very long day. It was kind of a toss-up at this competition. So going in, I thought Neosho was going to take it, but again, Jinx was going to be right behind them, and it kind of seemed like it was that way. I am actually surprised to see Jinx take best choreography. I thought this could have been a clean sweep, but again, I wasn't there, and I haven't seen Jinx's or Neosho's show this year, so can't really speak on it. But just as an outsider looking at these results, like, you gotta be, if you're in those top 2 spots, you gotta be happy with your day, the long day, so to say. So with Jinx getting best choreography, kind of stealing it from Neosho there, that's a great sign for Oklahoma. And the last 2 things that stand out to me is Harrisonville. Harrisonville was kind of a group that was teeter-tottering off the edge of predictions coming into this. I thought they were a group that could make finals going in. Thank goodness they proved me right. I've got the pleasure of seeing them a few times over at Troy Buchanan, so happy to see them. And what do we know about Oak Park? I know that they made finals at this competition. Going back to a comment we got on a past podcast. So congratulations to Oak Park for making finals here.
Absolutely. Wren, do you recognize any of these group names? Anything else that you want to put into the discussion here?
Not really. I know a little bit about Neosho, but other than that, not too much.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's fine. I think a couple of the other things that I wanted to point out for Neosho, this was a bit of kind of deja vu. Last year, they also won Pleasant Hill in a split caption, except the second place group there was Blue Valley, who we know went on to be an incredibly successful group over the course of 2024. I think Jenks is a group that a lot of people are going to have to start giving a lot more credit to in short order. I think that Jenks, people forget that they won their last competition in 2024. They've settled in to having Dominic Mattis as their choreographer. Michael Shimp is now fairly well tenured at Jenks. And while I don't know if they're going to be on the level of Broken Arrow this year, I think Oklahoma is producing a very legitimate second threat in terms of show choir. So I'm looking forward to see what Jenks does for the rest of their season as well. And also for Oak Park, this is the first time they've made finals at 2 straight competitions since 2023. So a good season for Oak Street there. I will move to the Sauk Prairie Music Show Choir Invitational. The results of this one: Waconia Power Company, Grand Champion, Best Choreography, Best Band; Chesterton Sandpipers, second place, Best Vocals; Waubonsie Valley Soundcheck, third place; Dwight T. Eisenhower Express, fourth place; De Pere Jam Session, fifth place; New London Vision, sixth place. Ethan, there is just so much to break down from this one.
No, there really is. Just personally, the group that I thought was going to get first got fifth. Like to me, I'm like, I'm just that far off, and that's how good the field was at this competition. Even though some of these groups surprised us right out of the gate, there was a lot of question marks about Waubonsie Valley coming in. So, and then they come in and get top 3 podium. That is outstanding for them. Dwight D. Eisenhower, also from my state, Illinois. Normally a prep group comes in and makes finals at this competition. Chesterton taking, comment says Chesterton got choreo. Look at you clicking on the exact time I read stuff. Chesterton got choreo and Waconia got vocals. Okay, well, that kind of makes sense because Chesterton can move Randy Sage, Ellie Jordan in their backcourt. So that is a group that, I mean, they got 5th place at their first competition. So they stepped it up at this one, got best choreo. I'm excited to see where they can go from here. Yeah, there is a lot to break down here. And I feel like I've only scratched the surface. Waconia finally breaking through and getting their grand champion under their belt has to feel so nice. This is a group that's almost accustomed to winning, going back for a few years now and going up against tough competition. So it's good to see them on the top of a leaderboard. And like
Why
I
don't
said,
you talk about your Illinois groups for a second? I feel like Waubonsie Valley and Eisenhower, I feel like a lot of people didn't feel like either of those groups were going to be that high.
Yeah, personally, I see why they're that high. Like, I don't know if that's just my expectation or on a national sense. Like, I can see why people didn't think maybe they lost a step, especially in Waubonsie Valley's case. Dwight D. Eisenhower, I can see why no one had him in finals. I didn't even have him in finals, but they're that strong of a group, and that's kind of a testament to the Illinois circuit. I feel like the middle tier, despite it might be losing a few choirs along the way, it is slowly but surely getting stronger and thicker with competition. So knives sharpen knives, and that's kind of how it goes. And when you go out of state, it shows.
Absolutely. We do have a couple of comments about New England. We will be previewing New England's competitions perhaps a little bit later towards the end of the show. So maybe stick around towards the 45-minute or 50-minute mark for some talk about the Shepherd Hills Central Massachusetts Show Choir Festival this weekend. Wren, before I talk about what this means for each of the Wisconsin groups here, what sticks out to you from these Sauk Prairie results?
Yeah, like you said earlier, Chesterton having a much higher placement is really good for them. And I know I've watched Waconia before, and they are always just so powerful with their vocals. So seeing them be able to place above Chesterton kind of tells me that it's surprising. And also, since they got best choreo instead of best vocals, it is also really surprising.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think, a lot has been said about the top 4. Something interesting that I do want to say is that Dwight D. Eisenhower is headed to Fort Wayne, Indiana this weekend. So that's also kind of outside of their wheelhouse, as well as Western Wisconsin, where they were this past weekend. So it'll be interesting to see where Express holds up at, I believe it's Northrop's comp this weekend. So we'll see where that goes for Express. The Wisconsin groups, De Pere Jam Session, this is a group that really has grown a lot after the pandemic. A lot of times pre-pandemic, when they saw deeper fields like this is a group that would just be on the outside. They really stepped it up. They were third in prelims between De Pere and Waubonsie and Eisenhower and New London. I think the total gap was like 2 points in prelims. So again, it was very close. As well as for some of the groups that didn't make finals. But before I get to them, I just want to talk about New London Vision. We talked about New London after the first week of the show at Toma, and it warms my heart to see New London at as high of a level as they are, because this is a program that kind of hit some growing pains last year. They were 11th at Sauk Prairie last year with a few less choirs in the mixed division. And to come out in a group of 18 choirs where only 1/3 of the choirs make it to finals, it is a true championship finals-esque event, where only the best of the best make it. New London showed up in a very big way. They beat Milton and Toma, both of whom they will see this weekend at De Pere. So I think if you're New London, you got to be feeling really great about that. Also, they have a phenomenal show this year centered around Finding the Light, and there's a huge lighthouse set piece. So I don't know, their director Spin designed the set, whether their choreographer Kevin Chase designed the set, or whether it was someone else entirely. But phenomenal show design out of New London. A few of the groups that missed finals, Milton Correlation in 7th. I thought even though that they missed finals, it was still a big step up from where they've been at Sauk Prairie these past couple of years. Toma Limited Edition, you just got to take your lumps at some point. Toma also missed finals at one comp last year. So certainly not the end of the world for them. Sparta Upstage Adrenaline in 9th. This one shocked a lot of people, even a lot of people who were at the competition. And again, sometimes you just got to take your lumps. There are days where perhaps maybe you're sick a little bit as a group collectively and your vocals suffer, or you're missing a couple kids for whatever reason and you're blocking and your choreo and your ripples suffer. Whatever the cause was, Sparta, I'm sure that they will certainly be back in a rebound. They'll be hosting this weekend, and they'll be back at La Crosse in 2 weeks' time. And then Plymouth Momentum in 10th. I got to give a shout out to Plymouth because they beat some real good Vanguard Wisconsin choirs. Holman was right behind them in 11th. Reedsburg was 12th, and Plymouth was a group who had previously scored behind Reedsburg earlier this season. So Momentum's show is very clearly going forward. And when you get down into the teens of that Sauk Prairie result list, there are just a lot of good groups that are mired down there. So it was a super tough competition, but for the groups who made finals, and I'm told that it was Kevin Chase who did the New London show design this year. So shout out Kevin Chase for a phenomenal show design. Every single group who made finals at New London, it's certainly something to hang their hat on as well. We're going to move to the final recap of the show, and that is, or last full recap, and that is the Johnston Showzam event, a Linn-Mar 10th Street Edition vocals choreo band, and the win, Waukee Northwest first runner-up, Urbandale second runner-up, Linn-Mar in step third runner-up, Urbandale Vitality fourth runner-up, Dowling Catholic fifth runner-up. Ethan, I'll toss this one to you as well. Linn-Mar keeps the streak alive.
They do keep the streak alive, and it's gotta feel sweep to have all three choirs win their division. That's something that is, as a program, you just feel so united and proud of all the hard work you guys are putting in. So we talk about Linn-Mar 10th Street Edition a lot, but we have to give so much praise to High Style and Instep as well, because they came out and showed out, especially with Instep making finals. So them and Urbandale Vitality, huge showings, grabbing those 4th and 5th place spots. So huge props to them. And I mean, 2nd and 3rd had to be tight. I mean, they flip-flopped from prelims. So kind of want to know what was the deciding factor. Did EOS just step it up that much in finals? Which they can very much do. I feel like both of those shows are kind of neck and neck in show design, at least in my head. Two fantastic shows. EOS doing a Yes Chef show. I'm guessing it's kind of centered around the bear. I don't know. That's just what I'm kind of thinking. And then Urbandale doing their Home Alone show. The people in attendance were in a treat, no doubt, because these top three choirs are some of the best around. I am so excited to see Urbandale in 2 weeks. So can't wait to see how much they improve from here.
Absolutely. Wren, I'll toss this one to you. We see 2 mixed prep groups in finals here, which is something that you don't see very much at all of in Indiana. If Indiana did like a finals at most events, do you think that some of these single gender or mixed prep groups from some of these Indiana schools would make overall finals?
Yeah, I think we've already seen it a couple times with Roncalli and sometimes other schools like I know I've seen Whiteland do it a couple times where they make finals at competitions where they're able to. And I think if that was offered a little bit more, it definitely would happen. There are just so many great small groups. I also know Pendleton that's done it a couple times. If they were just given the opportunity, they could definitely outplace some of the larger groups that compete around in Indiana.
All right, thanks. One closing note on this one, I did want to give a huge shout out to the Dowling Dimensions. This is a group whose only finals appearance last season came at the very end of the season at a Marion Masquerade event that didn't really have too many groups going for it. And obviously Johnston wasn't the biggest competition in terms of attendance either, but still the finals appearances have been a bit touch and go for Dimensions after the pandemic. So Lindsay Hughes now in season number 5 at Dowling. They will head to Ankeny Centennial this weekend, where they will face Southeast Polk, Waukee, and Ankeny. So again, another chance to make finals, only 4 4A groups, maybe a couple mixed prep groups in there as well, but perhaps Dowling will make it 2 in a row for the first time in a hot second. A couple other quick hits from the results sheet this past weekend. We had our first no caption win of the season. Norris Gold took the win at Hastings over Gretna East, who had vocals and choreography. Norris didn't make finals at Gretna the week before, where Gretna East won. So Ethan, I'm sure you've seen it before, but it's just one of those crazy turnarounds and one of those really tight situations where the way the things land on the score sheet makes sense, but perhaps the way things are just presented in pure placements perhaps leave some people with a couple questions.
No, yeah, for sure. I can name probably 5 examples personally that I've comps have been to where it's been this way. I feel like the one thing that stands out here though are the storylines that came with it. Gretna East was a choir that might have shocked the world last weekend. They come into this competition and all of a sudden they were the favorite to win it. Norris, on the other hand, does not make finals at Gretna. And so they're not on anyone's radar, at least personally from an outsider's perspective. And the fact that the result was the new heavyweight is in second was best vocals and best choreography. And Norris makes it on top with no captions, I believe. I don't think they got best band, or did they? No,
I believe best band went to Kearney.
Yeah, so that just as like from the storyline perspective, this has blown up anything I've ever known about the region. I mean, anyone can compete at any point at any time. So have to give all your props to Norris Gold and Granite East for an amazing outing.
Another one from Nebraska, this one at the inaugural Standing Bear Summit competition. Lincoln Southwest took a split caption win over Gretna Revolution, but the storylines didn't stop there. Grand Island Northwest was 4th. They beat Lincoln East Express, who a lot of people thought could factor into the discussion for the win as well. Gretna Evolution made finals as well, placing 5th, and Elkhorn Excel was 6th. Ethan, just briefly, like we have talked so much about both Gretna and Lincoln Southwest and even Lincoln East. Splitting captions at the top. Yeah, I think a lot of people can see how that happened, but Grand Island Northwest seems to be in one of their better years.
Oh yeah, they must be. They haven't competed before this, right, Will?
I believe not. So we're just gonna jump to a hasty conclusion after one comp.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of crazy to think about, but their growth is gonna be a sight to see. Where do they go from here? Now that is kind of a lot of pressure. And it's kind of crazy to think about what they finished 3rd, and then now they have this sort of like new onset pressure. Like
I take that back. They actually swept Lincoln Lynx on the 18th.
So, well, then it was written in the stars. It must have been. So they're keep on this tear. Yeah, and I mean the storyline was those 3 groups: Lincoln Southwest, Gretna, and Lincoln East. And the fact that Grand Island Northwest just throws this absolute wrench in there and just is just so much fun. Again, this region is deep. Lincoln Southwest was their third competition out, I believe. So, in Gretna, this was their first. So, yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen. And the fact that Gretna still took the best vocal caption shows a lot. Not having an undefeated season is, having your first loss after a while does kind of sting, but they're going to be hungrier than ever. They're going to come out so strong at the next competition. And then the fact that we're going to get Lincoln South, or is it Gretna and Lincoln East go up against it, or is it go up against each other like 3 more times?
Yes, Gretna and Lincoln East will see each other 3 more times over the course of this season.
A lot can change during that span. So excited to see them battle that out.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I do want to mention is that when we bring in Nebraska and scoring and all that, longtime listeners of the podcast may remember us talking about the Burke Bonanza last year, where best vocals went to, I think, 3rd, and best choreography went to 5th. Some competitions do caption scoring off of prelim scoring. So that maybe was what happened at Hastings, where Gretna East had a slide in both vocals and choreo and prelims, but Norris stepped it up in both captions and the overall show in the finals. I can't say for sure that's what it was, but just to bring it to the discussion as well. A couple final hits. At Winfield, Marysville Swingers Unlimited took home the win, followed by Olentangy Keynotes with a big win over Loveland by request. So shout out Olentangy. At Mount Vernon, Webb City put all 3 of their choirs in finals for the first time, and singers took home the overall win. So congrats to Webb City. And at one of the big small school comps this weekend at North Royalton in Ohio, Churubusco New Era out of Indiana actually came in and swept the whole division. And not the whole division, the whole not swept, but they won. They won the comp, and they split captions with Edgewood. But speaking of Indiana, we are going to get Wren in here, as she is our resident Indiana expert. Go listen to her podcast, Midwest Sound, if you haven't yet. A new episode just dropped last night. So, Wren, I think we're going to start off with just some of Indiana's biggest choirs in the large mixed division. Who are a couple of the names to look out for this year?
Well, obviously there's always Center Grove, and they get talked about a lot. So I don't feel like we really need to talk about them anymore. There's also always Carmel. But some of the bigger schools that I feel like we may be hearing a little bit more from this year are Zionsville, possibly, because I know last year they ended their season with their single gender group, the Corlairs, beating Debtones, and their mixed group placing just under Mitchell. And I also was looking back at their history, and they haven't placed below 3rd place at any competition since 2012. So they're really consistent. And I think this year we may be seeing a little bit more of them, especially since they're not afraid to compete around some of the major competitions in Indiana. Another school that is definitely not afraid to compete against some of the biggest competition is Brownsburg. They have continued to just go against some of the biggest names, and they always place really well. And I've also been wondering, after last year at the end of their season with the whole scoring error that happened at Show Choir Nationals, it makes me wonder if they're going to be a little bit more motivated this season, and if they really want to go into it with just a stronger performance. And I know the kids that were probably in the group last year and are still in it this year will definitely want to have a good big season. And finally, another one is North Central. And we talk about them quite a bit too already, but they also are not afraid to go against some of the big groups, and they consistently place well at major competitions. So I think if other larger schools are trying to kind of rise up in the large division, North Central is definitely one of the groups you want to beat before you get to the top 3.
Cool. Yeah, a couple of quick notes on that. One, we did a really nice piece interviewing Chad Strasser, the director of Brownsburg, after that whole Show Choir National situation happened. So go to homeroomshowchoir.com and type Brownsburg in the search bar, and you'll find that. Another thing, North Central with the director change too. I think that's a really interesting choir to keep an eye on this year. Let's move into large women's. What is a large women's group that you think might have a little bit of a story to tell this year?
Well, one group that I've always kind of had my eye on, I guess, and I feel like doesn't get a whole lot of recognition. I mean, obviously they're really large and they're really good, but it's Plainfield Femme Fatale. They are one of the biggest choirs in the state. They have so many people in their program, and they really know how to get sound and just girls up on stage. I mean, I've seen them a couple times live, and it's pretty crazy every time I see them. But I feel like they don't often get the recognition of being the biggest school because there are schools like Center Grove and Fisher Sound who outplace them. But just looking at their record from last year, they took grand champ 4 times and second one time, and then they placed 4th at ISMA large school finals. But I feel like going into this year, I mean, obviously every year they probably feel that they have something to prove, but last year I felt like they weren't really talked about a whole lot. So this year they may want to really get their name put out there and try to be a large female group to compete with.
Yeah, I think something with Femme Fatale is the kids can't control what the competition schedule is, right? And I think that Plainfield has, for whatever reason, just not had as many matchups with groups like the Debtones or the Carmel Accents or FC High Voltage, take your pick for these past few years. They'll start the season off this weekend at Southmont and then head to Ben Davis, Mooresville, Avon, Lawrence Central, and the state finals. So perhaps still not a ton of matchups with some of the really big choirs at the top of the list, but certainly some opportunities to test their mettle against groups of similar caliber, I would say. And then also, we're going to head to the small division for a lot of our listeners who don't come from Indiana and perhaps aren't as familiar. They may be familiar with, obviously, your Center Groves, your Carmels, your Franklin Centrals, but they're not familiar with some of the small mixed groups or programs that have both a good mixed group and a women's group. Who are some of the contenders that the nation should be looking out for in the small division this year?
Yeah. Earlier I mentioned Roncalli. They are, as of right now, the dominating small mixed group in Indiana. And I feel like that just everyone unanimously kind of agrees with that. They're very consistent. And I feel like going into the season, there probably won't be change. Another school to look out for is Huntington North. This year, or this past season, they really got put on everyone's radar. They really just came out of nowhere. They'd always been on a slow rise, but last year they came and beat groups that normally are placed pretty well in the small division. Another one is Pendleton. I feel like most people have heard of Pendleton possibly, but they're a pretty consistent group. DeKalb recently this past weekend placed above Newcastle and Edgewood at Ball State. So I think DeKalb could be a really good group to keep your eye on. They took best vocals. So I think they've definitely got a lot going for them. And it's the first time in a while that people have heard their name, especially winning. I believe last year they won Southmont, and it was their first win in a long time. And Whiteland is another one I want to mention because they are a pretty small group, but they put on a great show.
Yeah, I think you make a great point about DeKalb. They did win Southmont last year, and yes, that was DeKalb's first win since a lone win in 2018, and before that, 2015. So Southmont, a little bit of a beefier comp this year. I don't think DeKalb will be returning to Southmont this season, but yeah, a really great rapid fire hit of a lot of the small mixed contenders in Indiana as well. The Indiana season will kick off really in earnest with a few different competitions this weekend. Fishers is among them. Southmont is among them. Northrop is among them. So maybe we'll talk a bit of Indiana right as we close the show. But for now, we're going to move into a few of our comps of the week this week. And the first one is the Albertville Diamond Classic. So this is the first big Southern competition that we are spotlighting for the year. In large mixed, we have Donaldson Christian Legacy, Enterprise Encores, Homewood the Network, and Opelika Ovations. In middle mixed, Helena High Frequency, Homewood Continuum, Hoover Paradigm, Jasper Phoenix, Tift County 8th Street Singing Company, and Vivi Hill Singers. In small mixed, Chelsea Out of the Blue, Cleveland Renaissance, North Balding Encores, Pell City Showstoppers, Prattville Spotlight, and Rome Finale. And in single gender, Enterprise Esprit, Homewood Nexus, Tift County Ladies' Choice, Tift County Tiftosterone. No finals at Albertville this year, which is a change from previous seasons. Ethan, I will toss this one to you. Let's just start at large mixed. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to go away from Homewood at this competition, especially to start the season. Even though I believe Homewood's first competition last year, I feel like that's when Auburn got them. So I mean, it's not out of the ordinary for a Southern group to lose the first competition that they go to this year. Donaldson Christian Academy is a group that's slowly been growing up in Tennessee or down in Tennessee, excuse me. Opelika is always a strong choir, as same with Enterprise. I mean, I just kind of gotta go off the middle mix here because just stay within that genre. I'm just gonna go Homewood, taking it. I'm gonna take a sweep here. I'm gonna have Enterprise in the 2. I think Tift is a very strong choir that can come up and maybe even nab that second spot. From what I've heard from Dobbs from the warm-up room, and we were talking to him, talking about Tift ladies. It's kind of giving me the idea that Tift could be a very strong choir this year that many don't see coming. And then I'm gonna have Opelikas right behind them. However, the one storyline I'm gonna take away from this competition, Will, I'm kind of going off track, and I apologize. But Lake Forest Boys to Men middle school.
Oh yeah, You've never heard of them?
No.
Oh my goodness.
So is this is the only all quote, I believe it's all male middle school choir I've ran into.
Now, there are a couple out in California too.
Oh well,
I think Oak Middle, which is a LaSalle feeder. I think they have the Showmen, and I want to say there's one more out in California that I am not able to remember just off the top of my head. But yes, they're few and far between.
Because looking at it, I believe this is their second year of competition. Lake or maybe third year. Lake Forest Middle School Boys to Men, I am rooting for you guys. If you somehow see this, I am rooting for you. Best of luck, because that's honestly another stacked tier 1 middle school division. And I mean, I don't know enough to dive into it, but yeah, this will be an exciting competition. I'm excited for some of these schools to see where they go. Tier 2 is very stacked. Yeah, I'm excited. I feel like a bunch of these choirs go at each other's necks all the time. And then I really don't know where it shakes up majority of the time. So I can't wait to see how it shakes out.
And just touching on Lake Forest Middle School, so that's a feeder program for both Cleveland and Bradley Central, I believe, which are a couple of the show choirs around Chattanooga down in southern Tennessee. And they went undefeated in the middle school division last year. They won at Albertville. They won at Loveland. They won Tupelo, and I believe they won at Auburn as well. So a phenomenal middle school program there. Yeah, just going back to middle mixed, I mean, there are just a lot of groups here that can make a lot of noise. Obviously, Tift was formerly a large group. They're kind of settling in to a new identity as a middle mixed group. Homewood Continuum, always dangerous. Hoover Paradigm just beat Tift last week. Helena High Frequency just took home a division win last week as well. Jasper Phoenix is always a dangerous group. Vestavia Hills, they were third place in the division last weekend, but I don't think that means lost a step. Like, I look at that middle mixed lineup and I'm like, there's not a bad middle mixed group in there. And I routinely think of, like, we have to start putting Alabama right on par with Iowa as a state with like one of the best middle divisions. You know, I feel like it's kind of Iowa, West Virginia, and we have to start talking about Alabama that same way as well. So that is something that I'm really interested in as well. Yeah, small mixed as well. Like, we've got 6 choirs there. I would say Prattville is the leader in the clubhouse, but I really don't know. I'm going to throw this one to Wren. Anything else that you want to say that you think Ethan and I have missed?
No, not really. I mean, I've really only heard of Homewood and Enterprise. So I agree Homewood's probably going to take the win in the large division for this one.
All right. With that, we will move on to our next comp of the week, and that is Bloomington Kennedy Gold. This is the first Minnesota competition of the year. In the mixed division, Bemidji Vocal Motive, Bloomington Jefferson Connection, Hastings Riverside Company, La Crosse River City Revolution, Waconia Power Company, and Wheaton Warrenville South, the Classics. In the women's division, Aspire Momentum, Bemidji La Voce Bio, Bloomington Jefferson Jive, Hastings Dynamic Edition, Waconia The Current, and Wheaton Warrenville South Spree. Ethan, this is a really true battle of the heavyweights, and it feels like Bloomington Kennedy is liked every year.
Yes, this is juicy, Will. This is juicy. I mean, there's just so much within this one competition. Um, just to start off somewhere, this is Bemidji's first competition out. This is one of the first times they started this late that I personally remember. Wheaton Warrenville South, first time out. So, you have those question marks that we keep talking about. It won't be until we hit middle March where we stop talking about first comps out until Los California. We'll be around then. But yeah, I mean, Hastings has a comp under them. I know they didn't place where they probably wanted to. Waconia coming off a win, a huge win, matter of the fact. Lacrosse also coming off a win. And this is a program that just merged into one choir. So, and I mean, they got to be riding high right now. And I can't wait to see. They are probably the group that I'm most excited to see where they place at this competition. Because at their first competition, I believe they were a little middle of the pack, and then they broke out and won. And so coming into this competition where it seems like there's a lot of heavyweights, it will be interesting to see where they place. And there also something that's just jumping out at me is the judging panel. Terrell Dean, Stephen Albarg, Jeff Guimard, Connie Mulligan, and Adam Peters. That is going to be an amazing judging panel as well. And I mean, I think I just got to take a shot at it. I'm very surprised by the community having Wheaton in first, but again, power program. I'm gonna ride with it. I'm gonna go with Wheaton to take this one. First competition out, but I think they have it. They can do it. I'm gonna take Waconia in the 3 or in the 2. I just feel like they are gonna ride this high that they're on right now. And I mean, this is, I believe, their 4th competition, something around those lines. So
it will be number 4.
Yeah, which I mean to me is crazy, but this will be their 4th competition. Hastings, I think, is going to be in the 3, Lacrosse in the 4. I'm going to throw Bloomington Jefferson in the 5, and this is where it kind of gets dicey for me because a part of me says, safe bet, put Bemidji in there, but something screaming put a Wheaton Warrenville Spree in there. So I'm going to put Wheaton Warrenville Spree in the 6. Yeah, I think this is going to be an amazing competition, and these results are going to be something that we will for sure be talking about next week because this is going to be something.
Absolutely. Wren, what do you have to say about this competition?
I mean, this is just full of names that I've even heard of, and especially Wheaton Warrenville. Like Ethan said, I do think that they're going to win, but there's just so many people, and I do agree. I think Waconia will take second just because they are coming off of that win, and they're probably really excited to go against some of these other groups that are really big names.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what else can be said. There's just a lot of really big and talented groups here at very different points in their seasons. So I'll just roll straight into my predictions. I will take Wheaton at the 1. I will take Hastings at the 2, Waconia at the 3, Lacrosse at the 4, Bemidji at the 5, and Wheaton South Spree at the 6. So we'll see how things go. I had a really, really bad week last week in terms of predictions. So
I didn't even make it.
We'll see how these go.
Goodness. That would have been terrible.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll move on to our third of the week. And this is the Lincoln East Spartan Spectacular. Big field for this one as well. Elkhorn South Blackout, Gretna East Equinox, Lincoln Chain Reaction, Lincoln Northwest First Class, Papio South Titanium, Pius the 10th Spectrum, St. Thomas Aquinas Swinging Saints. Several of these programs bring in women's and prep groups as well. We saw Elkhorn South, we saw Gretna East, we saw Papio South, all at Gretna 2 weeks ago. You throw in a Pius group that is debuting their show and took a big step forward as a program last year. How do we see the top of this playing out?
This is probably maybe the most difficult one to predict because I feel like there's actually so many unknowns in this one. Even though all of these groups have competed before, except for Pius, and that's tough. You never really say that. Papillion, La Vista, and Pius. I feel like they're going to be they're the two heavyweights in this one. Going in, they're the most reliable, so to say, the safe bet. So if you put probably those two at your top two, I wouldn't be surprised. But again, you're having two choirs who just come off a wild competition, who both had success in Grenna East and Norris. So those top four placements are going to be interesting. And then you throw Elkhorn South into the mix as well. I think I'm just gonna have fun with it. I'm gonna go Gretna East with the win. I'm gonna go Papillion La Vista Titanium in the 2. I think I'm gonna go Pius right behind them. Norse, it's kind of weird because they missed finals at that first competition, So I mean, I don't know if it was just a crazy one-time thing or Norris got that dog in them. But I'm just gonna roll with Norris has that dog in them because why not? I'm gonna put them at the 4. Elkhorn South feels wrong putting them in the 5 on the 5, and I do believe Papillion La Vista Titan Radiance will take that final spot. I will agree with the community there.
All right, Wren, we're going to toss this one to you. Maybe it's a little bit unreasonable to expect you to predict this, but what thoughts do you have when seeing this lineup?
Oh man. I am going to admit I am not super acquainted with some of these. So I'm just going to throw my hat in the ring and say a random one. And if it's totally wrong, then it is what it is. So I'm going to put Papillion La Vista at first, Pius second, Gretna third. Then after that, I'll do Norris and then Elkhorn. And then I do hope that Papillion La Vista's girls group Titan Radiance makes it to finals as well, or at least takes the 6th spot.
Right, boy. Well,
that's gonna hit. Will
we're definitely that's gonna hit. Yeah, we're gonna have some interesting discussions next week. We're gonna have such different predictions. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say besides it's gonna be interesting looking at the groups that competed last week, and this is now their 3rd competition in a row, and the groups that maybe competed 2 weeks ago and took an off week, and this is now their 2nd comp of the season versus you got Pius starting their season as well. So honestly, here I will take Gretna East at the 1. I will take Elkhorn South at the 2. I will take Papio South at the 3, Pius at the 4, Norris at the 5, and Papio South Titan Radiance at the 6. I would love to see St. Thomas Aquinas make finals here, but I just don't think that that's quite where they're at as a program. And also Titan Radiance is a wonderful women's group as well. So I think that's the one thing we all agree on is that we think that outside of kind of that big 5, that is going to be Papio South Titan Radiance, which of course, if just one other group makes that, then all 3 of our picks are just gone. We're going to head up to New England quick in some of the closing minutes that we have. New England kicks off their season this week with the Shepherd Hill Central Massachusetts Show Choir Festival. The big headlining matchup for this one, obviously everyone is start seasons, but Daniel Hand Vibe is going up against Waltham Music Unlimited, and it's the start of a big season for Vibe. They will be going to Show Choir Nationals at the end of the year, but then some of the other storylines in this one as well. We got Tantasc, who is fully committing to the story show bit this year. We have Lowell, which is what I believe to be the first Stephen Todd choreographed group in New England in quite some time, potentially ever. And then we also have Andover in large mixed. Small mixed features also some very good groups. We've got Scranton, we've got Bishop Hendricken, we've got Oliver Ames as well. So, Ethan, what stands out to you here?
The thing that stands out to me is how fast Daniel Hand can start a season out on the East Coast, because I feel like every single time they get out to a 3 comp lead on everyone out there, before even South Winsler can even get a start. So they are a group that traditionally starts very well. Them and Waltham have been butting heads for a long time now. Long time. I feel like they are almost polar opposites. So it's almost like choose your pick. Do you really like that strong story show that Daniel Hand can put on, or do you like the more traditional choir slash show that Waltham usually comes out with all their energy? Tatasqua is a group that I've heard a lot of, which this off season, which I usually don't. So excited to see where they place here. I feel like this tier 2 is screaming at me, Will, with Scranton, Dartmouth, Brockton, Leo Meister, Oliver Ames, and Bishop Hendrickson. These are all very strong choirs. I'm going to lead towards Scranton in that division to the point where I think they could possibly make finals. So
There is no finals.
Oh, there is no finals. Oh, I'm an idiot.
When was the last time you saw a New England comp with finals?
You know what? You're so right.
We're going to be here for a while.
No, you are. You're right. I would have to go back years. So, yeah, I'll just go straight into it. So, Daniel Hand always starts off strong because their show is so fresh. However, I'm just gonna be different. I'm gonna go Waltham in the 1, with choreography, and then I'm gonna have Daniel Hand in the 2. I think Tantascwa will stay in the 3 as the community predicts. I think that Stephen Todd can make a big difference in Lau. I'm going to have them in the 4, Andover in the 5. And I think Scranton is going to be a top 6 finisher at this competition.
All right, Wren, anything else that you want to add in here?
I would have to agree with that. Seeing Daniel Hand live last year, they were really amazing. So I do think they'll definitely take first place at this one, hopefully.
I will third that. I'll take Daniel Hand in first place with 2 captions. I'll actually take Tantasqua in second. Like Ethan said, you usually don't hear a lot about Encore over the offseason, but this season you kind of heard that there were rumblings that something big is cooking there. And maybe this year isn't the year where everything comes to fruition. Maybe this year is just the cooking year and next year is the product year. But I think something is certainly in motion at Tanty. I'll take Waltham at the 3. I will take Lowell at the 4 and Andover at the 5. Small mixed, I think my top 3 would be Scranton, Hendricken, and Oliver Ames. So New England starting strong here. They will have yet another loaded field at Tantasqua next week. So we'll probably be right back here talking about how Tantasqua has another loaded field. Moving along to a couple other hits before we close out the show. The Fisher's Silver Spotlight Invitational. We've got Center Grove and Franklin Central and Noblesville all facing off. Wren, how should we handicap that one?
Oh my gosh, it's going to be a crazy opening weekend for some of these bigger choirs. I was lucky enough to see some videos from Center Grove's preview night, and I just have to say I don't think they're getting any worse. They are still really amazing. So I will just have to say I think Center Grove's really going to kick that one off. But it's going to be exciting to see how some of these other larger choirs start off their season. So I'm ready for that.
Awesome. And we have some small mixed groups in there as well. So Fishers should be an interesting one. Jackson Academy down south, we've got quite the interesting collection of groups going here. In extra large, we've got Grenada and Madison Central. In large, we've got Northwest Rankin and Jackson Prep. In women's, we've got Tupelo, and all of a sudden, we have ourselves a very strong 5-choir finals field, Ethan. We've got Grenada coming off a second at Show Choir Nationals. We've got Tupelo with a show that I think is going to go down as a show very similar to their Letters to War show, perhaps not as like emotionally impactful, but in terms of just overall production value. We've also got a Madison Central group that is really looking for rebound year. We've got a Jackson Prep group who probably would have taken best visuals at their own competition this past weekend.
Yeah, this is another very strong field. Barely missed our comps of the week. Go read our comps of the week once it's posted. Will does a fantastic job on that. Shameless plug. I think this is Grenada's. Unless Tupelo can come out swinging, I feel like their show can gravitate towards this judging panel and really take them and be like, hey, like we are one of the strongest single gender choirs in the nation. And here to put everyone else on notice. However, I think Grenada is going to hold strong. I'm going to give them a sweep here. Might as well put Tupelo in the 2. I don't think it would hurt. I feel like they'll be 2 or 3. I'm going to have Northwest rank in there. Jackson Preparatory and Madison Central, 2 very strong choirs that I feel like could flip-flop at this competition. I am going to lead with Madison Central, then Jackson Preparatory at the 5, and Northwestern, my Big Ten brain, Northwest Rankin, the Allure will round out the 6th spot here.
5 finalists.
Oh, sorry, you barely missed, but you get second in single gender. My bad.
Second in single gender to Tupelo is nothing to be sad about. Wren,
sure.
Anything that you want to add in here?
Oh, I have heard so much about Tupelo, but I do think they'll probably take the 2nd or 3rd spot at this competition.
Yeah, I feel like our Southern friends every year, the year starts up and it's, well, is this the year that Tupelo takes a GC? Is this the year that Tupelo takes a GC? I feel like we've heard that in 22, 23, 24. And I feel like when the warm-up room drops their next episode and when Bradley Davis drops his next episode, I feel like we're going to be having that same conversation again. Grenada is very interesting because Grenada has incredible years and Grenada has good years. Yeah, those are 2 different things, right? They're both good things, but they're 2 very different things. So the question is Grenada going to have an incredible year this year, or is Grenada going to have a good year this year? I think that if Grenada is going to have a good year, I think Tupelo could potentially take it. I don't know if Tupelo would sweep, but I think Tupelo would have a chance. If Grenada is on their way to an incredible year, I think it's Grenada's, and I think they take 2 captions. I just can't argue with second at Choir Nationals, finished the season last year, so I'll take Grenada. I'll take Tupelo at the 2. I will take Northwest at the 3. I'll take Prep at the 4 and Madison Central at the 5 to round out this one. Kind of our final one to close out the show. We've got the Omaha West Competition of Excellence, Lincoln Southwest, Millard West, West Des Moines Valley, Grand Island, Mitchell, and Bellevue East. A lot of choirs and a lot of different students. Lincoln Southwest on comp number 4, Millard West on comp number 1, Valley on comp number 2, Grand Island, I believe, on comp number 2, Mitchell on comp number 1. Ethan, throw those 5 in a blender. Where do they come out?
It's going to be tough, and it's kind of crazy that we're just now talking about Millard West. I feel like we've been talking about Nebraska and Iowa, like every group in the state, except for Millard West, besides their competition last weekend. So very excited to see how they start. They're one of my favorite choirs probably in Nebraska, just because they're fun show designs and they just have a ball on stage. So I'm excited to see how they place. However, I'm going to stick with the strong hand here. I'm going to go with Lincoln Southwest at the 1. I just feel like 4th competition coming in off of 2 wins. They got 2nd place to a good choir. I think that they will get 1st place at this competition. There's a lot of unknowns with Mitchell. I feel like they're going to stay the same caliber of group that they've always been. However, director change can throw a little wrench into things. So I'm going to go Millard West in the 2, and I'm going to go Mitchell at the 3, Valley at the 4, and then I think Grand Island's going to round out that mixed division. Oh, and well, then Belleville would be under them as well.
Or would you take a group like Millard West Uptown to make finals?
In finals, I would probably take Millard West Uptown. They're such a strong choir, and I always hear great things about Millard West Uptown.
Wren, anything that you want to toss in?
No, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think there's just so many clashes of perspective here. I'll take Lincoln Southwest in 1st with vocals and choreo. I will take Millard West 2nd. I will take Valley in 3rd with band. I will take Mitchell in 4th, Grand Island in 5th, and toss someone in at the 6th. I think it would be huge for Bellevue East if they could take that Bellevue East in their first year of direction under David Groth. So that would be huge for Bellevue East if they made finals over a bunch of very, very potent women's and prep groups as well.
Valley was banned almost feels automatic now. I did just like one of those choirs that is just automatic in the band caption. So if someone can even take band from them, that's almost a win. So
yeah, and Valley's program grew to 3 choirs this year. So that's a growing program. Granted, it is Iowa's biggest high school, but still always nice. Yeah, always nice to see new groups coming on. We are at the top of the hour, which means that our time here is done for the week. Thank you, Wren, for coming on as our guest this week. I think this is the first time anyone has ever appeared as a guest from a costume closet. Ethan, thank you very much for anchoring the show with me as always. So much going on this weekend. I mean, there are a lot of good battles that we just frankly didn't even have the time to squeeze in. I mean, some of the other competitions going on, big battle at Ankeny Centennial. Sioux Falls Roosevelt has a lot of those South Dakota groups going on. Davenport North has a bit of an interesting field as well. Hurricane hosting their annual competition as well. So much show choir going on this weekend. We will be right back here next week, Monday, 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Until then, everyone, have a great week and enjoy your show choir Saturday. See you.